Saying goes, better late than never. In most circumstances, that is true. In this circumstance, it is true. Good morning. Welcome to Garden America. We're about 30 minutes late due to technical difficulties, but give great credit to Tiger Palafox, who eventually got us on Facebook, got us on the air, as they say. So we are ready to go. It is Garden America. Good morning. Welcome to the weekend. I'm Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. Great job by Tiger. Thank you for awaiting those that are there right now. Tell your friends who may have tuned in earlier and then decided to drop us to log back on again and say, hey, the guys are back on the air, Facebook Live. And you can also go to Tiger's page if you'd like and watch the show from there. So, John, what do you think? Tiger did a good job. We are on the air. We've got a great guest lined up. Everything seems to be falling into place.
Yeah. First comment from Lenore. Go, Brian.
Go, Brian. I didn't have anything to do with it, Lenore, except watch Tiger.
It was Tiger.
Let's give Tiger the credit. It all has to do with various updates with the technology we use. And as you know, with updates, things can be a little shaky until we straighten it out or you straighten it out. And for the most part, Tiger, I think we're okay.
I think so. It's looking good, and I'm happy that we're live. I'm happy that we're able to join our friends this Saturday morning. What a unique Saturday morning for us here in San Diego. We had rain almost all week, which never happens here. And then it was just beautiful.
Beautiful
clear,
yesterday. Today's nice.
Sky this morning.
And then Tuesday, more rain.
More rain.
And
what about up north, though? They got bomb cyclones up there, right?
You see Santa Cruz Beach?
Yeah, and I was going to say, and then the surf coming in is just battering the shoreline. It's crazy.
You know, they say, watch out, high surf. Well, if you're a surfer, you're like, cool.
Yeah.
I'm there, man. Dude. Cowabunga.
Except for it's like a giant storm bomb cyclone out there.
Hey, have you ever or would you ever surf Mavericks?
I have never, and would I ever now? No, but I have surfed beach breaks like Mavericks back in college.
I like the way you said, would I now? No. You're older, you're wiser, you have a family,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's what that is all about. Yeah. It's crazy.
There was just someone who passed away in Portugal, I think, this week.
Portugal is one of the biggest surfs in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a serious deal.
Speaking of high surf and weather, we are back. I see Facebook Live. We have increase in people that are tuned in now. Thank you. Good morning. Reach out to your friends if they gave up on us about 30 minutes ago. We are on. We are live. Want to welcome our friends on Biz Talk Radio. This does not affect you in any way because we're going to deliver to you no matter what happens. Yeah. But this is last week's show. So maybe if you have friends or time travel friends, as you mentioned this morning, John, you can check with them.
Well, hopefully we'll have time to do this because of what happened. But we were going to show our listeners how to grow your own roses from seed.
We have those roses in studio.
And
John
we
brought
have
roses
everything
in.
that you need. We've got the seeds. We've got pruning shears. We've got rose hips. And if you're listening on the radio to this show and you want to see what we're talking about, all you have to do is go to the Facebook page or YouTube, right?
Go to our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show. Everything is archived, and you can actually watch this process.
Right. Now, will it be archived even though it's a shorter show?
Yes.
The show's the same length.
Show's the same.
Same length.
We'll
just
explain
started
it later, John. We'll explain it later.
Yeah. Show's got to be the same length.
I
yes.
got it. It was that time travel stuff.
That time travel.
I think I have it figured out.
All of our shows are actually posted on YouTube the same day that we record these shows in the afternoon, so they're archived. Also, go to our website. That's even more important, gardenamerica.com, and you can click a link, which will take you to our various platforms.
When did this start?
I think about 15 minutes ago, right? But, yeah, we have various platforms, digital podcast. You go to our website, gardenamerica.com, and there are various links there that you can click to take you to whatever show you'd like to watch. And you can also tell Alexa, play Garden America Radio Show, and she'll be more than happy to do so.
Yeah.
Hey, the quote of the week kind of pertains to what we just went through, so I'm going to share that.
Really?
It's from Hal Borland, a writer and a naturalist, and we've used quotes from him before, but he said that the year's end is neither an end nor a beginning, but a going on with all the wisdom that experience can instill in us.
Yep.
That's a great quote, and he's right.
Yeah.
Do we have 3 or 4 cameras going?
We have 3.
3 cameras, okay.
At the moment.
Thought I saw a little glitch, but I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah. We have 3 at the moment. I will bring on the 4th if if we feel confident.
If we feel comfortable. Hey, our guest today, we should talk about our guest, a longtime friend of the show.
The
He's
owner,
traveled
buddy.
with us.
Yeah. Owner of Sea Crane Radio, right?
Bob Crane. You
Bob
call him
Crane.
Robert. I call him Bob.
Call him Billy.
Bob's going to be with us today talking about some new technology, new garden radios.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by his new radio. You can crank it. You can
Sunbathe
solar it.
Solar it. And
You
You can put batteries in it.
Various
you can
ways
plug it in.
to make it run.
You know what's funny is, okay, when talk about age gap. When John said you can crank it, I was thinking
Cars?
turn up the volume. No.
Oh.
I thought
No,
he
definitely not cars.
John's first car, crank
Yeah,
it, right?
I was thinking.
I've been watching a lot of reruns
turning up
of
the
the
volume,
Waltons.
like crank up the
Crank it,
sound, right?
crank it
Like
up.
you can crank it, and then he talked about how solar charge, and I realized his cranking was referring to the wind up feature of the radio, where you can charge it by winding.
We have
it
one
up.
of those at home.
But
What do you call that?
winding up, not cranking.
Huh.
But you can crank it up, though. The term "crank it up," right? Don't you
That's
use
volume.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So, but he was not referring
No.
to volume. He was referring to the wind up feature.
Got it.
The recharging.
Turning the little handle around and around in a circular motion.
Yeah, back
That's
when
cranking.
Back when John used to have to crank his car to get it started.
So thank you for your patience. Those that tuned in,
Sometimes
gradually they're
Tiger
coming back
makes
now.
me cranky.
What's that?
Tiger makes me cranky sometimes.
Anyway, as we like to say, great show coming up today. Questions, comments, feel free. Hi, Gina. Hi, Lenore. Hi, Rick. And the rest of you now that are joining us. I think your daughter actually texted you and said, hey, is there going to be a show today?
Yeah, and I have a whole list of listeners that I texted and said, hey, we're on.
We're on. Good for you.
Go back to Facebook.
We're going to be trimming roses. We're going to be talking about garden
Not
radios.
trimming roses, planting roses from seed.
And you brought us some seeds, too, as a matter
Well,
of fact.
the plants that we're going to show are plants from seeds I planted at this time last year.
So if I plant,
you'll
in a
get
year
an
from
idea
now,
of what you should have a year from now.
And what kind of seeds are they? What's the species?
The two varieties I brought in were from. I only know the parents. Or the seed parent. I don't know the pollen, where the pollen came
Well, this
from.
sounds like an adoption.
But the two that I brought in were two that germinate well for me because there's a long involved process in growing roses from seed, but this is something simple that anybody listening can do. You don't have to, if you're doing it commercially, I mean, you're refrigerating seeds, you're cleaning them, you're sowing them in greenhouses. What I'm going to show people today is you can just do it right outside.
And it's very simple, as you
It's
mentioned.
very simple, but not all rose seeds are going to respond the same way. So I brought you guys two that I tried last year that germinated quickly.
That you know will respond.
Right. So one is Manhattan Blue, and the other is Wild Dancer.
I think I took Manhattan Blue.
You like Manhattan Blue?
I just like the name.
All right. Not Wild Dancer.
You know, something to be said about Wild Dancer, too. I thought I'd play it safe. Let's see. We've got... Colleen says, going to try planting roses from seed this year. Also need to start pruning if the rain will take a break.
All right. Well, you know, yeah, these tips, if you get the newsletter, there was also an article I wrote, 6 Easy Steps to Planting Roses from Seed. You'll be shocked at how simple this is.
Step 4 was not that easy, but for the most part, yeah, those 6 steps were fairly easy,
Well, that's
John.
because you did it twice. You only need to do it once. I should have probably memorized what the steps were. But we can go over that. Anyway, it'll be fun.
Tiger's working on a few glitches right now with the video. With these, basically, there was a major update in the way we deliver the show from the camera to Facebook.
Don't air our dirty laundry.
And, well, people are curious. They want to know. For the most part, I won't go into detail, but that's what Tiger's working on right now. So if you do see a little glitch in the video, it's because of this so-called update that took place.
Have you ever wondered where that phrase came from?
Update?
No, airing dirty laundry.
It's like a rule of thumb.
You think so?
The rule of thumb was actually...
It was a rule.
Of thumb.
Because it was a measurement, right, of your thumb.
Right.
And it had, what did it have to do with?
It had to do with hitting
Air
women,
your
I
dirty.
think, back in the day, right? You could only hit a woman with your thumb or something? I'm going way back, not recent. No?
I don't know. I honestly, I'm sure I did know at one
Back
time,
in the
but I
dark
don't
ages.
remember.
But I mean, dirty laundry. Don't air your dirty laundry. Don't hang out your dirty laundry to dry. Right? That makes sense. You don't want to.
It's conjuring up all kinds of images in my mind that I don't think we should talk about.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get in trouble for what I just said, too. Quickly, John, we got to take a break. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that Tanya says she can see the glitch on her desktop, but not on her phone.
And I'm seeing that happen on my device, but not when I'm watching the show via my phone. So,
I see it on my computer screen.
Right.
Well, hang in there because
we're working it.
Actually, listening to the content is more important than watching the content. Wouldn't you say, John?
Maybe not when we get down to planting the roses from seed.
Good point.
Right.
But
I have no glitch on.
We got to take a break.
On my.
We'll talk about glitches after the break if
right.
you'd like, and bring on Bob Crane. Those on Biz Talk Radio are going to take a break. Those on Facebook Live, do stay with us. This is Garden America. Happy weekend to you. All righty, we are back. It is Saturday morning or maybe Saturday afternoon, depending upon where you are. And when you're listening, it is Garden America, Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. We have our guest standing by and ready to go. Tiger, are you ready as you juggle 1,000 things this morning?
Yeah, I am really ready because I'm excited to talk to Bob Crane with Sea Crane Radio this morning. One of our travel companions, longtime guest of the show. Good morning, Bob. Thanks for being patient with us.
Well, good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful always to be on air with you great gardeners.
You know, Bob, this could be not one of the worst things, but this could be a bad thing to happen to this interview. But then at the same time, it's probably one of the best things to happen for your interview because I don't think that you have this problem with the apps and connections with Sea Crane radios, right? As long as and that's where you got into making radios, is making sure you have a great AM reception with beautiful audio clarity, right?
Well, radios are a throwback. They're considered old technology and simple, and they're anybody that says that is really correct. But inside, making a radio is still horribly complex. But the app disappears when you lock the chip down. It's done.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
Bob, actually, that was one of our problems this morning was an upgrade with an app, an upgrade to how we deliver the program, and it caught us by surprise because they didn't tell us until Tiger tried to get us on the air this morning. So when it comes to apps and updates, we are definitely dialed in.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But no matter what, it's always a great time chatting with you, Bob. And, you sent us a new radio this year, and it's a really neat radio because aside from being able to listen to your favorite shows and your favorite radio stations, it has a solar panel to be able to charge it. It has a crank or wind-up feature, being able to charge it up as well. It has a light. And, because of your radio's qualities, they are going to be really good at receiving any AM or FM station that is out there. Now, I'm sure that this was one that came from many years of research and development, but that was kind of the reason why you started this, right? Where you were at, you couldn't get a good radio signal for a while.
Yeah, and originally we had, I think, one or two stations.
Yeah.
In Humboldt County, and I found an antenna that could reach out and get San Francisco, about 250 miles away. And I thought there's got to be other people that are, I wouldn't thought that are radio nuts, I guess. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
And there were. That's how the company was started, yes.
And so you moved because that's what you were trying to do. You moved from San Francisco, where you used to be able to hear your favorite programs, out to Fortuna, right?
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, well, I still want to listen to my shows, and how am I going to get to do that? And that's where you went and developed this radio?
Well, yes. Actually, we started with a loop antenna. It's called a select antenna. Was our first item, and then we just took off from there. But, yeah, we were able to get San Francisco, which was very, 250 miles daytime is very difficult to achieve, but we did it, and there was lots of other people that wanted to help us out, so it worked fine.
And are you finding with new technology radio towers, 4 radio stations that you're able to continue to get those good connections from wherever you're at?
Well, you have a lot more radio noise. I think we all know about that. So we do. We're kind of a hybrid company now. We also do help people extend the range for Wi-Fi if they want to, up to even a few miles away.
Wow.
And so that's a very popular part. And even now, I listen to you on KPAY out of Reading, but I do that through a couple of electronic devices. And so it works, whatever. And then, we had a lot of power outages, and gosh, we were in radio heaven for a few days with no electrical noise whatsoever. We were picking up clear as a bell, San Francisco, and any station we wanted that was available.
We should probably just make a minor correction there, Bob, and say KPAY's in Chico.
Chico, yes. Thank you very much.
Very good, John, yeah.
Yes. I knew it was over there somewhere.
It's in Northern California.
Right.
Yes.
And it's funny because, we live in this society of technology and advancements, and it's all good until it's not. And, Bob mentioned earthquake. We were just talking about storms, and, all of the apps, all of the phones, all the computers in the world are great until you either don't have electricity or they lose their ability to connect to the internet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a radio signal is going to be pushed out from hundreds of miles away. And if you have a good radio and it has the ability to charge itself or to recharge, then you can connect. And so a lot of these radios that you developed are actually really good emergency radios, right, Bob?
Well, we tend to have a lot of power outages where I live, so I think I'm kind of hyper-sensitive because we just don't have any available. We're starting to have people that are online on their radio stations, but our last earthquake was San Francisco. Again, was the best source of information. Mm-hmm. And it's sorry, but it's just we live in a remote area, and we have to put up with whatever information we can get, and the radio is a very important part still.
Yeah.
And it's also important when there are natural disasters that you're still able to have a radio that turns on, regardless of how it does that, and is not affected by various climates or things that happen, correct?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think there's so many people that love radio that, people that love radio don't talk about it. So this is quite an opportunity to say, hi, fellow radio heads out there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's a lot of people that love radio. I would say 10% of the population is just focused on it.
Yeah.
But we're also a silent minority.
Now, I do want to mention right now, if people are interested in Bob's radios, you can go to crane.com, which is just the letter C, and then CRANE.com, where you can purchase these radios via their website, as also the Wi-Fi extenders and other products that they have. If you're looking for more information for the radios that we're discussing, do you remember what the radio was called that you sent us, Bob?
Yeah, that's a CC Radio Solar. So that's and the panel's oversized, so the emphasis is solar. The part that's good is that when it's charged. Well, I haven't charged or put a battery in my radio for almost 2 years now. So that's the good part if you have a sunny window. I love that. And it'll charge a cell phone battery too.
Yeah, and what would you say this is the size of for people to reference here, John? I don't know, small box. I don't know how to say it.
I'm trying to compare it to something.
It's the size of 2 packages of graham crackers.
Okay. Hey,
we finally found your vice. No drinking, I got it, but you got the graham crackers, huh?
Hey, Bob, on that note, we are going to take a break for our network affiliates here, so do stay with us. We're talking to Bob Crane, C. Crane Radios, talking about a great radio for home use, obviously, Wi-Fi, and, of course, gardening. This is Garden America. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. I'm Brian Main, John Bagnasco. Tiger Palafox coming back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Do stay with us. We are back from the break. Thank you for tuning in on Biz Talk Radio. This is last week's pre-recorded show. Reminder, you can watch us live every week if you'd like to take part. Go to our Facebook page, that's Garden America Radio Show, and our website, gardenamerica.com. We are speaking with a good friend this morning, Tiger and John, Bob Crane, C. Crane Radios, and learning a lot. Bob, what piqued my interest quickly, and we don't have to delve into it too much, but what about those Wi-Fi extenders? I think a lot of people would be curious about that as well. How does that work?
It's quite fascinating. The ones that we are most popular are ones that you just put, say you have a shop or a garage or a guest house or whatever. You just put it, one of our antennas, and you point it toward the house. Hopefully your router is near the wall toward, the building you want to serve. It just picks up the signal back and forth, and that one goes up to 400 feet, and if your favorable conditions, up to a mile.
Wow.
Just like that. And then if you want to go further, we have other specialty equipment, bridges and things like that will go 3 miles.
Now, what about something just to make the Wi-Fi in your house better? Does that exist?
We do have that one, too. We have little ones that'll do that, but, we're competing with the new, the wet, I forget when you have multiple units, the mesh.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And those are pretty good for a larger home, and I would recommend that because they'll do five, the number 5, the good one, the fast one.
Yeah.
So that's really the best way. But if it gets a little bit further than that, that's where we take over because our technology is slower because it has to take the data, say, hey, I'm here, now I'm going to put it here. And when it comes back the other way, it has to do the same thing. So it does twice as much work. So if you're a gamer or someone who's doing stocks, you don't want our system. But for, watching Netflix or something in your garage, you can do all that.
Okay.
Hey, Paula online is asking if I can get radio reception with this radio at my home. And
you're asking you, John.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And yes, I can.
Yeah.
And first I have to crank it up. I had a 200-foot-long extension cord out to my garden, and then I was looking where to plug it in, and I thought, I don't need to do that.
You get plenty of sun. And John's actually in a very favorable area for radio reception. He's perched high up on a hill where he just overlooks everything, so he gets a good signal.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like having something, though, that, because I would say I spend at least half the day out in the garden. And I really like something like that that's portable. And this one even has a flashlight on it, so if the sun goes down, I can find my way home.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, I know we've been talking about your radios a bit, but, you're also a gardener, and you've been working on a few projects at the home, right?
Oh, the neighbor was a gardener, a very old man, and he kind of taught me things. He was a bit of a mentor. And so was my dad and mom a little bit. And I love it. It's my passion now as I am getting older, and I'm loving gardening better every day as a way to, it's just beauty and wonder every day.
So you sent us pictures of a new walkway you put in that I was kind of jealous of.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
Well, that took, 5 or 10 years in the planning, and this year I did something really different. I put in a small percolation pond.
Oh.
And that was interesting because just to help the groundwater pick up stuff, and it's about 1,000 gallons, which sounds like a lot, but it's not a very big pond.
Yeah.
And I was thinking how fun that would be to, going forward, if everyone had even a square meter or a cubic meter to put water in. God, that would be a tremendous difference to the water table everywhere in Southern California.
Yeah, and that is actually a big trend in a lot of all the new developments, at least in San Diego for sure, require those in very large scale forms of those. So you're right. That is definitely a new trend, and I think a lot of people are moving towards that direction. I mean, John's percolation pond is called Tree Pit. where it just flows downhill into their
That's right.
lower area there. So
Beautiful.
You know, it's a great thing to kind of consider rather than, because I think that's what it was, right? And you know, I remember being young in landscape projects, and it was, how do you get the water out to the street?
Yeah.
That was your goal. Your end goal was getting water into the street, away from your home, away from your yard. And now it's not like that. It's, how do I get the water away from my home, but how do I get it to maybe absorb through my lawn or
Right.
absorb through my tree pit,
Right.
or, you know, things like that.
Not to go into a sewer.
Yeah, not to go into the sewer.
To utilize it, obviously.
Yeah. So no, I think that's a definitely new trend that is picking up for the home gardener, but definitely is a trend that's being forced upon by municipalities and developers. So, what are you got planned for the upcoming next 5-year project, Bob?
Well, I got a little remodel I'm working on next door, and that will keep me busy for a year or two. I don't know. I've gotten into wildflowers. I know for some reason they've always deeply affected me, and so I've started to buy stuff from just wildflower mixes, California wildflowers and other ones, and I'm putting them in pots and here and there.
Oh.
And I'm just really excited about it. So I'm going to keep going on that one for a while. See if I can do a partial field or something. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, when we were in England, that also got me excited about wildflowers when we were there traveling, because, you know, there were some areas, what they call them, long borders, where they were more kind of flowering, you know, annual
those were
flowers.
more perennials. And
Yeah,
things,
but it kind of gave you that little bit of a look still, and I kind of was excited about that a little bit.
well, Great Dixter had the meadow looks.
Yeah, that was not so much.
That was. I mean, a weed patch would be another name for it.
Yeah, that not so much, but definitely the wildflower look is really neat, and that's exciting that you're putting them in pots. I'm more just put them in the backyard and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just finding to get started, it's good in pots, just so you can see how they're growing and how they look, because sometimes you still have to prepare the soil, which is really a pain, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As you kind of come out of, I mean, I guess we're kind of still going into winter. Where you're at, is there still a lot happening, or are you going to have to wait until April, May?
Usually I use the row covers, so I'll plant my lettuce bed next in a few weeks and start that up on February 1st, and because we have lettuce almost all year here.
Okay.
And it's kind of a goal to see how long I can go on the lettuce bed.
Well, what kind of lettuces are you excited about planting?
Well, we just I try a lot of different types, and there's so many. But we still have the romaine and the spinach, and some of the mustards, purple mustard seeds.
Yeah.
And we just break it up. We buy. I think it's called mescaline. There's all different types, and so you never know what you're going to get. But it grows in Humboldt County. It's probably you could grow lettuce commercially here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, lettuce really likes that sunny but cool environment, and that's why it does so well in the north and you know, Oregon and those areas as well. Where in Southern California, it just bolts and shrivels up as soon as it gets too warm here. So you are in a really good area for growing lettuces, or the leafy greens, I should say. My
favorite lettuce is one from the 1800s, and it's the cheapest seed. It's just black-seeded Simpson.
Yeah. Yeah, you've talked about that one a number of times, and that is a good lettuce. It is a good lettuce. You know, that real popular one in grocery stores, they put it in special packaging, Butter Crunch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever grown that one from seed? Do you grow that one up there, Bob? We just have about a minute before we have to take another break. Sorry, too.
We do, but it's kind of susceptible to slugs. They like to hide in there. So we can do it, and it's sometimes, I think, during certain times of the year, if you plant it, like when it's March, it really does well. But that's only for a few months. Then you go, oh.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then when we get back, we'll finish up chatting with Bob Crane with Sea Crane Radio.
Yeah, and those on Facebook Live, any questions, comments for us or Bob, be sure to post them in the comments section. We're going to take a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for tuning in every week. I'm Brian Main. John Bagnesco, Tiger Palafox here on Garden America. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Garden America. Thank you for being right there with us each and every Saturday. We are finally back on. The video's a little jumpy. We'll continue to work on that, but we are on the air, and we are having a good time here on this Saturday morning and maybe Saturday afternoon as we continue Tiger and John with our guest, good friend Bob Crane.
Yeah, we have a comment on Facebook from Marguerite Bob, and she says, these radios are the very best.
Nice. All right.
Says they're especially important during weather, earthquake, power outages.
Yeah.
Aw.
So there's a ringing endorsement, Bob.
I was just thinking of how much fun it is to be on air with you guys. It is truly wonderful for me. Absolutely.
Oh, it's fun to have you.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, I just wanted to also just kind of get our listeners in. I know, Bob has traveled with me once, because I've only traveled once with the program, but I know he's traveled with you guys before as well. And he's very interested in the trips that we take. And he was considering, hey, what if we work together and put together a trip here in California, right, Bob?
I was thinking about it, and then, I did a little preparatory work, and I think it'd be a wonderful trip, but I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have, a lot of big estates. I think one we could get into. We don't have a lot of botanical gardens. I think one or two we can get into. So it's really the natural beauty. There's something like six or 700 square. I'm wrong. I think it's 600,000 square miles of park space here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
huge. So parks would have to be visit different parks to some degree, and some of the high points in the parks.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, there's different areas that are not that far away, like
Right.
Santa Rosa. We could visit Burbanks and take a bus up to Bob's and go along the coast. And
I think that's more realistic. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so. And I think people have a great mix, of what they want to see on these tours, because they do want to see the homes, like you're saying. They
Right.
do want to see the botanical gardens. But at the same time, I think that, they aren't interested in some of the natural landscapes. Part of the tour in England, the place with the thatched roofs,
Cotswolds.
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 We didn't go there for any gardens.
Right.
We went there to look at the village and to see the structures and to see the city.
right.
And so it's not always about, like you're saying, the garden. It's also about the environment that it's in. It's also about where you are in location. We might go to some place up there, Bob, just to see maybe some, I'm just throwing it out there, I don't know, waterfall or some kind of peak or feature that,
Oh, sure.
you
We have
can't,
landmark,
Ferndale.
maybe.
that you can't see, anywhere else. So, I think that people are interested in that, in traveling and being able to, be exposed to something new. But, I think that, the gardens are an important part for sure. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what people think.
What do you think the best time of year for your area is, Bob?
If you go with no traffic, usually in the spring it's beautiful. We all know that, but it's still cold here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
And so if you go in September, August, September, it's beautiful after the schools are filled with kids again. Then you have a lot less traffic and RVs on the road. And that's really the best time in our opinion.
I wonder what that means to Bob as far as traffic and RVs, because Bob, you got to remember, we're coming from San Diego. Anytime I get on the road, there's traffic to some degree.
Sure. That doesn't happen that much here. We could go to the beach, and one of the fun things about going to the beach here is there's no one else there.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Bob's climate's not much different than Scotland.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good way to look at it.
Tiger, if we did go to the beach, Tiger, you could give our listeners surfing lessons.
There we go, right?
Yeah.
There's
get
lots
out
of surfing up here,
there. Yeah, there is.
as
And
long as you got a 3/8 thick wetsuit.
yeah, exactly. And as long as you're not a little bit afraid of any kind of sea life animals up there.
Paula says that she loves seeing home gardens, especially vegetable gardens. And I was thinking Another one of our friends, not too far from Bob, Kathy Pearson, who owns a pottery studio, also puts in a huge vegetable garden.
I mean,
it's a beautiful one.
Yeah.
And Hank, it's people say, oh, like a huge vegetable garden. They have to have a tractor. They have
Right.
to have a tractor
That's how
to take
big it
care
is.
of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would be kind of fun. And September, would that be vegetable season up there too?
Well, you have your crops are
Right.
getting near the end, but you still have squash and things. So
Yeah.
August would be better. You still have
Yeah.
more flowers and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's kind of delayed. So near the third week of August might be the best.
I know we've got to,
We got about 3 minutes.
because of time, we've
Yeah.
got to go quickly. But Rick, one of our listeners in Star, Idaho, Bob, wants to know if you ever listened to shortwave.
Oh yes, we have we do listen to shortwave. We have a couple of receivers that we love very much, to be quite frank. In fact, one of them, I'll brag for a second, we're exporting to Japan.
Oh.
Wow.
I know. That was such a fun thing to have happen. What do you want from our company?
Right. Now, that's like a whole subculture, those on short waves that like to tune in and listen to things that are sometimes off the grid, as we say.
But usually all that stuff comes from Asia, and here Bob is
Sending
Exporting it
sending
out there.
Yeah.
It's an honor to ship there.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So
Yeah.
but shortwave has its own thing. We have
Yeah.
one now. You can listen to ham radio operators all over the world.
That's cool.
It's kind of like listening to a police scanner.
Yeah.
It's like you're eavesdropping.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it is. It
You
is
know?
like you're eavesdropping.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
should probably mention just really quickly that we first found out about Sea Crane Radio from our
Art
friend.
Bell.
Well,
That's
I
what
was going to say from Bruce Asakawa is where I found out, because Bruce was always a fan of Sea Crane
Right.
radios.
And Bob, for years you were with Art Bell in the middle of the night, and that's when I first was introduced to your radios.
Well,
And he did. He
well,
gave
you're
a good
around
ad
as
lib.
long as we meet everybody sooner or later, I guess. huh?
Right. And he was so good at ad libbing and selling those radios.
Oh yes.
You know, in the middle of the night, it's quiet, and you're listening to every word he says. And he'd do like 2 or 3 minutes on you. He did a good job for you, Bob.
You know, he did a wonderful job, and we miss him every day. So that's the way
Yeah.
it goes. And Bruce too.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Hey, Bob, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry to short takeoff, but thank you for being patient. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. Hope all is well, and we will chat more about maybe a future trip up there.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thank you
take
so
care.
much.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
You too. Take care, Bob. Hopefully we can hook up with him some way, shape, or form in the near future. Okay, that said, for those on the Biz Talk Radio, that's going to do it for hour number 1. We're going to take a break, top of the hour. You've got news coming your way. And for the rest of us, we'll continue Facebook Live. Biz Talk Radio, you'll rejoin us at 6 minutes after the hour, so do stay with us on this weekend. This is Garden America. Welcome back to Garden America. Those on Biz Talk Radio, welcome to hour number 2. Where you're concerned, it's about 6 minutes after. Good afternoon. For the rest of us on Facebook Live, we just keep on rolling along. Now comes the part of the program where it's better if you do have us on Facebook Live, because we're going to be talking with John. We're going to be doing some demonstrating with roses, planting some seeds, so on and so forth. And for those on Biz Talk Radio, we'll do our very best to articulate the best way we can to paint that picture for you. So, John, would you like me to come up, John? And
Come on over,
okay,
and
okay.
I'll show you. You know, the first step to planting roses from seed is to get some seeds. So this is the time of year that you're going to be pruning your roses anyway, and you'll find a lot of rose hips out on your roses. And Brian, I brought several roses in here to show, but here's a hip. And if you do, you have your don't do the seeds yet.
Okay.
But what did you do with your pruning shears? You can use mine.
Okay, sure.
Okay. The first thing to do is just cut open that hip.
Right in half.
Yeah, right in half. Right there's good.
I don't want to cut your
You're about
finger.
to
Well,
cut
here,
his
you hold
finger
it.
I'll
off.
do it, yeah.
You hold it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just get in here
Right.
and cut it like that.
Okay, now look at the seeds that are in there.
Yep.
So rose hip, though, is usually about the size of a grape, right?
Well, depending on the variety of rose that you have, because I'll show you that in a second. But anyway, once you've got the hips, Brian, all you do is just pop these out. So each one of those
Little
is
seeds
a rose
coming out of the
plant.
middle.
Each one of those is that's amazing for those that have never seen that.
Yeah.
And how many are in there about, Brian? What do you think?
Well, that's the thing. You can have anywhere from one seed to a couple dozen seeds in one hip.
Really?
Yeah, this one here probably has at least a dozen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, usually the size of the or the type of the rose is going to dictate the size of the hip. Hips this large are usually from hybrid teas or floribunda roses, but the roses that I have here that Tiger's showing are all from rose seeds that I planted at this time last year. So if you plant your seeds now, you should end up with plants like this at this time next year.
So you're saying from seed to 1 year, you're going to have roses that are about 6-7 inches tall, flowering,
right?
All of that in 1 year,
right? And what I'm explaining now is if you just plant these outdoors.
Okay.
Commercially, when they grow roses, they're putting in their seeds this time of year, but as soon as they germinate, they've got flowers in 6 weeks.
Wow.
But that's controlled conditions, right?
Yeah.
So these are just going right outside. You actually, instead of putting them in pots, could put them directly in the ground and just mark off the area that you had planted, and something's going to come up. So anyway, I was showing the, here it is. Oh, what happened to that? Here it is, Wild Dancer. This first rose right here, Tiger, is a seedling from Wild Dancer. And I've got some seeds here, Brian, but look at, these are the hips from Wild Dancer.
Oh, much smaller.
Right, now cut that open and see how big those seeds are compared to the ones we just
had.
had.
You can just pop it.
Can I even cut that thing? I mean, I could.
You should. Don't cut your finger.
Okay, now we've got, it looks like about, I would say maybe six
or seven
and very small
seeds in there,
right?
Very small.
Yeah.
Now, once you've cut the seeds, what I do is lay them out on a paper towel in a sunny area, and I let them dry. And then I take the seeds, put them in my hand, and rub my hands back and forth, and then blow in them to get the chaff off to clean the seeds. And the reason you want to do that is if that chaff is or the pulp is attached to the seed, it can actually prevent the seed from germinating.
Oh.
So you don't want to do that. So here were some I cleaned yesterday.
Would you want to wash them off, or just simply rubbing in your hands is good enough?
For me, rubbing in the hand's good enough. Again, we're just trying to make this easy,
yeah.
Right? So, Brian, here's some I cleaned yesterday. Okay. That's from Wild Dancer. So if you sow those in here, because you'll be able to take this one home, or you wanted Manhattan Blue.
I want to know how Brian is going to sow these. Like, don't tell him, John.
All right.
Brian, what would you do if someone gave you rose seeds and was like, plant these? What would you do?
I would first of all, I would kind of stick my hand in the soil, kind of loosen it up a little bit.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Where did you just put those?
He didn't put them in here. He didn't put it. He's just acting like he knows what he's doing.
Right, that's the wrong pot.
And how deep are you going to plant the seed, Brian?
I'm going to plant that seed about an inch.
An inch.
Well, all you need to do is sprinkle the seed over the top.
Just on top of the soil, huh?
Well,
and then you're gonna.
And I'll tell you why.
And then
here.
he's going to roll the dirt over a little bit, right? That's what I'm guessing. Hold on here. Boy, these things are.
Jeez, your hands are gumpy, huh?
To get in there. Okay, so we're going to do that.
You know what you might try doing, Brian, is just pouring them into your hand.
No, just drop them all over the floor. That works too.
Tiger asked me how I would do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Wrong.
Brian.
Okay, so there you go.
That's fine.
Did
you put them all in there? Put them all in there.
Okay, we're going to have a good time today.
You got it. They're all in Look at all those plants.
Okay.
Okay, so once you've done that, I'm taking, this is seed starting soil.
I know what he's doing.
And seed starting soil is different because, it's sterilized, not just regular potting soil.
And you put that over the seed.
And I put it over the seed, and the reason is that when the seeds germinate, you can get damping off disease. So you get these nice seedlings coming up, and then they die, which is really depressing, right?
So what prevents that? The sterile soil or
the sterile soil?
Putting the seed on the top and then putting the soil on the top. So the sterile soil is the important.
Now, you can also, rather than, if you want to just use regular potting soil, because that's what you have at home, you can top it with perlite, because perlite's also sterile. And commercially, they'll have big beds of seeds that they plant, but then they put perlite over the, or not perlite, vermiculite over the top.
Oh, okay.
Perlite kind of floats away, so use vermiculite. So anyway, this one's ready to go, Brian.
Ready to go. Now we have Manhattan Blue.
Now, next year at this time, you should have plants similar to that size.
And if you're better at gardening than John, they would be bigger and better.
Well, now when will I see some kind of growth here in this pot?
Well, if you're putting them out, if they were indoors and if they had been refrigerated, probably within 2 to 3 weeks. But this time of year, if you just have it outside, it could be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
But then they should germinate and they'll start growing. Now, if nothing comes up, don't despair, because doing it the way I'm telling you, putting them outdoors, you can have up to 2 or 3 years before the seeds germinate.
Really?
And the reason I'm mentioning it is because also last year at the same time, I planted these 2 pots of seed. And you can see that these are just coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm showing it in the camera.
Yeah, on that camera.
But
so these ones are
just
barely
now.
emerged. So we've got roses that are full grown,
Right.
6-7 inches tall, wide, flowers on them, and then at the same time you planted some seeds.
A year later, now they're just starting to come up.
And they've just emerged, not
Right.
even an inch tall.
So I didn't throw away any of my seedlings or seed pots from last year, and I'm surprised because some of these I'm really looking forward to see what they do.
Don't panic and be patient.
Right. And I find that sometimes, not always, but hybrid teas and floribundas take a little longer to germinate.
And when would you say, so these are a year old, okay?
Right.
When would you say an evaluation of the foliage and the flower could take place? Meaning these year-old flowers, the foliage
Right.
on some of these look very small. On some of this foliage looks bigger, but still is not sometimes the size of what a rose would normally be. And then the flowers.
Well, there's a couple great questions you asked there. One is those 2 that you're talking about with the small foliage are polyanthus.
Okay.
So they are going to have small flowers and
Right.
small foliage. Commercially, they go through and they cull their plants vigorously. If they see mildew, they don't even let the plant bloom. They just pick it up, throw it away, and start. So I brought in one that is a plant that would be culled immediately if it was being grown commercially, because you can see there's mildew on the plant. It looks kind of scraggly. And
We got to take a break, John.
All right.
We're that
when
close.
we get back, I'm going to tell you more.
Oh, good. How exciting. Okay, yeah, taking a break for Biz Talk Radio. Those on Facebook Live, yes, the audio is better than the video right now, but you're still getting a lot of great information. So do stay with us. Going to take a break. Biz Talk Radio Facebook Live. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. We are back from the break. And again, those on Facebook Live, just give it a listen here as the video is jumping around. We will have that resolved before next show, next week. So again, audio information is what you want to listen to right now. Obviously, those on Biz Talk Radio and Facebook Live. John, we had to go to a break, but let's get back to your discussion here on how to grow these things.
Yeah, I was mentioning that the rose I'm holding in my hand is one that would be culled commercially. They wouldn't even give it a chance to bloom. But I don't have 300,000 seedlings, so I'm not going to throw this away.
It's a numbers game with 300,000.
Yeah, I'm going to let it bloom and just see what it does.
Right. And I think that's part of the magic is you're not quite sure exactly what you're going to get or how it's going to look.
Now, some are healthier. This one is going to be a nice plant because the leaves look good, the bud looks good. I'm kind of excited to see what this looks like.
Now, Colleen asks, do you start them in pots or in the seed starter flats like muffin tins?
Well, Colleen, if you...
Colleen?
Yeah, if you look at this little pot that we have, we just put seeds in here, and this is where they're going to grow.
Yeah, a little 4-inch,
there you go.
4-inch wide pot, maybe 3-inch forward, but then it's a.
But like I said, you can put them right in the ground if you want.
You
them
could,
just mark off the area.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have one more here to plant. This one, I guess, is for Tiger to take.
Yes,
now.
please.
This is Manhattan Blue. Or is that the one you wanted?
It doesn't matter. Either one.
You
Tiger
said
and I will.
Tiger was more like a wild dancer.
We'll
so you wanted
arm
him to
wrestle after
take
the
that.
show for which ones we want to take home.
All right.
So Manhattan Blue. These seeds are
They're a little bit bigger.
a little bit bigger. I was
now
gonna
that's
say.
a shrub rose, where the wild dancer was a polyantha rose. So those seeds were a lot smaller. But seeds don't always pertain to the size of bush you're going to get, because miniature roses can be large seeds sometimes.
Right.
I brought some seed pods for Little Darling. And Little Darling is kind of famous because usually anything you cross this with gives you miniature roses.
So what you're saying is the size of the seed doesn't matter. What matters is the information contained in that seed that'll dictate the growth.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway,
Yeah, right?
I think it's exciting, to wait, and then a year later, you've got all these babies to look at.
I was going to say,
It's like getting a new puppy or something.
it's a great project for kids. The only downfall is kids want to see something quick.
I don't think it's a good project for kids.
I mean, what we're doing here is kind of fun. But
it's fun, but do it with radishes
Right.
or sunflower seeds.
They want to
for
see
kids.
something within a week or so.
Right. You're a little bit more mature than a kid, so this is a good
not
project
much.
for you.
Not much. But so your seeds are you're done? You're good, Tiger?
I planted my seeds. They're ready to grow. Now, is there things that you have to worry about as they're emerging, like pests? I mean,
Right.
Is it a viable plant or not? But I mean, as
Because
it's growing,
they're so
like,
young.
what about a slug or snail? Like, if they're emerging, do you need to protect them from those?
Yes,
it'll kill it, right?
Because they'll get in there and they will eat every plant as it's coming up.
Right. Okay. What about other things like
Sowbugs, earwigs.
sowbugs and earwigs?
Yeah, I will.
So that's why another reason maybe not to put it in the ground. Start it in a pot.
Right.
you
keep
have
it
more control
protected.
in a pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that our video keeps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got the audio out there, so
Yeah.
that's important, the
Now,
information.
Colleen asked if you could put them in muffin tins. Probably not, because you
Not
need
deep enough?
holes in the
You need
bottom of the
drainage.
You need
tin.
drainage,
Right, you
yeah.
need drainage.
Yeah.
You can use little plastic cups if you want,
Okay.
and take a hot nail and
Just
put
put
holes
holes
in the bottom of the cups, or any kind of pot you have that has drainage will be fine.
Yeah, the big thing is the drainage, right? I mean, you were just talking about vermiculite, perlite, those are the things that they put them in because that way it just doesn't sit in soupy, wet soil all the time.
And we can also, what we're doing today, we could make a short little video
Yeah.
at some point, no more than maybe 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes, John, and we can actually demonstrate this again, put it on our website later on for people to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So without the glitches, you mean?
Yeah, a clean video without the glitches.
All right. So anyway, any other questions about?
Yeah, let us know
I-
on Facebook.
I know how to do this, but
You have
Fertilize it all.
Yeah.
During this process
early
at all.
fertilization, is that necessary?
I do fertilize the seedlings with a water-soluble fertilizer once they germinate.
Okay.
Prior to germination,
Let
you
'em
don't
go.
need it because it's just a seed sitting there. You can, if you really get into it, there are things you can do. You can soak the seeds overnight in bromelain, which is a supplement, a food supplement that will dissolve some of the coating on the seed, so they germinate quicker. And one breeder, I think it's the person that bred the St. Patrick rose, used to put all his rose hips in a blender and then just sow
What?
sow everything. Yeah.
Doesn't he grind up the seeds at the same
Yeah.
time?
He would get nicks in the seeds, which would make them
Which
germinate
you want to do
quicker.
because you want to nick the
Yeah.
seed, right?
But I
Well,
don't do
Daniel
that.
likes our idea about making a short little video on this and maybe some other things that we can demonstrate to people as well that would not be necessarily during the show, but a quick little video.
Well, the last video that Daniel did was definitely worth watching, so I
Right.
think he would do a
Yeah.
good job on this.
Yeah, and again, these would be shorts. These would be like 2 or 3 minutes. Here's what you do. That took no longer than a couple of minutes, John, for you to
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, and both of you have your fingers still, so it was a success.
I was close.
Even though it was
John
close.
thought he was getting a manicure.
And
for
those
a
were
minute.
good. And those were some rusty old pruners that you were snipping there. I like that John brought like these rusty old ones for him, and then you had this.
Well, mine are rusty, but they have nice red handle.
Yeah. There you go.
So
you know what's
anyway,
funny?
I last year ended up with 100 seedlings, and that doesn't count the ones that are germinating this year too.
Uh-huh.
So from those roses, I hope to get than commercial growers would get because they're too picky.
Yeah. And you're not scared to like kind of let it go a little bit longer
just to see
what happens because you might be surprised.
Right.
Even if the rose isn't a great plant, doesn't mean the flower isn't going to be spectacular in some way.
And there's some types of roses like polyanthus I learned when they're young can get mildew, but as the plant matures, they grow out of it.
Oh.
Which I've never seen happen before.
Okay.
I don't know if something in the leaf matures so that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So yeah, you could be shocked. And I mean, for gardeners, I mean, we were just talking with Bob Crane, and he just seems like he likes a challenge too, like most gardeners. And this is something that you can say, hey, here's a rose. I'm bringing it for you as a gift. It's a good-looking plant. It's got a flower on it. And then you get to say, it's my rose.
I did that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
hey, we're going to take a break real quick, John. We'll come back. We've got 2 more segments. I know those on Facebook Live, you get a blank screen right now, but the audio continues, and we want to get the information out to you. We'll have this resolved by next week, so thank you for hanging in there. Taking a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio, back after these messages. We are back from the break. Those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you for tuning in each and every week, and a big thank you to our affiliates. A thank you to Stephanie, her team at Biz Talk Radio. Now, those on Facebook Live, you do see a blank screen, but you can't hear us, so feel free to comment and ask questions. You can still do that as we continue to roll along with modern technology.
We were going to say prior to the break that, and you were alluding to the fact that these are all new roses, but it's your rose when it comes up.
It is your rose.
If you want to register it or name it, you're more than welcome to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, and again, we're going to be putting together some videos with this subject matter as well as others, which we will post on our page. Rick says he's thinking of moving back to Grants Pass because he's not happy with his experience here in Idaho. Gardening is pretty challenging. It's a whole new way of doing gardening, Rick, no doubt.
It's completely different,
Yeah.
and I grew up in Michigan, so I know what Rick is talking about, and I moved from Michigan in '77 and would not go back willingly.
Willing, I like that.
Willing.
You have to drag him back. But,
Now, Grants Pass is in Oregon.
Yeah.
Much milder climate than
Sure.
Idaho.
yeah, we're spoiled. I wouldn't even know what it would be like to try to garden in a place that has winter conditions like that.
And hot summer conditions.
Yeah.
You know what? They can go a month with temperatures over 100 degrees.
Jeez. Yeah.
How plants grow there, I have no idea. And they do fine in that heat.
Yeah. I
The
mean,
Well,
one
I
good
mean,
thing they have
water.
is, plenty of water,
Yeah,
which
I
is
mean,
nice.
I was shocked when we were traveling through England about how because it was warm when we were traveling, and but then people didn't have irrigation systems and everything. I'm like, how is this happening? But water, they have water,
Right. They did not have a lot of water while we were there,
No,
which is
but-
why the lawns were turning brown. But the reason they don't have irrigation, like you say, is because they get so much rain
yeah,
that
they don't really.
normally they have that. It was
invest in
funny
that.
to see them watering shrubs with watering cans.
I know, or just these huge hoses just dragging them everywhere because
Yeah.
they don't invest in the infrastructure for water because, like you say, they don't.
well, now
really
when you
need it.
guys were there, was that the time of the year where it was really unseasonably hot in
Yes.
England?
Yeah,
just
hot and dry.
Over and beyond what they're used to.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was June, I think, right?
I don't remember.
It's we were there for the Hampton Court Flower Show.
Yeah,
You stay at the Hampton Inn.
We did not stay there.
I did not see a Hampton Inn.
No.
So that's a brief little demonstration on how you can grow your own roses, and they will be your rose. You own it. That's your rose.
So, when it comes to the cross pollination of rose and these rose hips, You can.
Oh,
pick,
that was the other thing. Don't mean to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but just to briefly explain, most of these roses. Sometimes I can collect pollen from a bunch of roses and then just go through and pretend I'm a bee.
Yeah.
But some of these roses, bees did pollinate, and the hips were pollinated by themselves with the help of wind or bees or some type of insect. So you don't have to do the crossing. If you want to cross particular varieties, you'll get more diverse. You'll have more genes in the rose, so you'll get a lot of different attributes to that particular plant. So you're going to be more likely to create a good rose if you pollinate it yourself. But then again, you would have to read the steps to it, because the first thing you have to do is you have to pull all the petals off the seed parent of the rose before it opens, and then you have to emasculate it, which means pull all the stamens off.
Ouch.
And then you have to wait till the next morning when the stigma becomes receptive. It puts out a little bit of dew or sticky substance on the stigma, and then you have to dip your finger in pollen, put it on there, and see what happens.
Watch out, because I'll pull all your stamens off if you don't behave.
Well, it's
You're a
lot.
stamen threatener. You know that?
You know, again, you can just make it simple. It's fun to do, and you can see what you get. That one rose you're looking at was a seedling of a rose called polyantha called Chatillon rose, and I personally think that's going to be a really nice one. So I'm going to probably name that one right there.
I was going to ask about the DNA of the roses. Is it like people though, where, for instance, I have Spanish DNA in me.
Right.
And so even though I have brown hair, brown eyes, kind of darker skin, because down the road at some point in time I have Spain DNA, I could have lighter hair.
You're a Madridian.
I could have, there are family members that had blue eyes or something.
Blonde hair even.
Yeah. Are roses like that too, that even though this is what you see in the parent plant, it carries DNA from other parent plants that it had in the past, that you could get a rose. You could be cross-pollinating 2 pink roses, and that rose can come out purple. Is that a possibility?
Right.
Yeah.
If there's purple in the background.
In the parentage.
So are there
of
positive
those
and recessive genes just like in humans?
There is, and usually fragrance is a recessive gene.
Okay.
So to get a fragrant rose, you usually have to pollinate 2 fragrant roses together. Not always, but
and
just
you said
usually.
most roses do not have a fragrance?
Most roses that they've bred for florists.
It's recessive, so most roses won't. Okay. But like Tiger says, even ones that might have a fragrance, like florist roses, don't smell because the petals are so thick they don't release the essential oils, the fragrance oils. Yeah. And that's so that they'll last longer.
So there you could get a surprise when you're pollinating roses. You can have one and you'd be like, whoa, where did that one come from?
Well, people that have a baby.
That's what I'm saying.
And the parents are dark hair.
You're like looking at that kid and like, whoa, where did that kid come from?
And the first thing that comes to mind is mailman? No?
Well, both my parents and all 4 of my grandparents were Italian, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So usually you think dark hair, right? My brother is 6'1", blonde hair, blue eyes.
See, that trait was just waiting to be born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and what's really weird is he looks like the milkman.
Exactly.
They don't have milkmen anymore.
But at that time they did.
At that time they did, right.
Yeah.
So I was going to add to what you were saying, Tiger, on how surprised you can be. There was a hybrid tea that I think Henry Bennett came up with in the late 1800s. And Henry Bennett was a cattle breeder. He raised cattle in England, and he had the idea that we could raise roses using the same techniques that I do with cattle, making these different crosses.
Uh-huh.
So he came, I think it was him, came up with a rose called Lady Mary Fitzwilliam, which was a early hybrid tea. And Lady Mary Fitzwilliam has descendants in modern roses that are probably about 8,000. So almost every hybrid tea that we grow today has Lady Mary Fitzwilliam in the background.
Those traits have been passed down year after year after year, decades.
So think of the variety in roses now, and look at what Tiger's saying. Can you be surprised?
Yeah. That's interesting then, because I mean that's always the fun part, right? Is the surprise.
Yeah.
I think a lot of breeders do breed from what they see, and then they hope to get something out of that.
Right.
But then there's that one little one over there. What's that one doing? And has a really different flower or a different leaf.
Like when I'm all set up, when Tiger helps me landscape my house and get my garden in order. And I actually get to crossing specific varieties. There's certain traits you want to go after, like you're talking about. And I have roses with extremely large flowers and very large leaves that I'm going to be working with because, like Brian, I believe bigger's better.
Yeah.
So I want to have like just these gigantic roses.
Is there a rose out there with known like the flower? The biggest flower, the rose that has the biggest flower. Kind of like, we talk about mammoth sunflowers. Right. Mammoth sunflower is supposed to have the biggest flower head. Right. And that's a very common one. Is there a rose
There's
out
about
there?
a half dozen roses that have extremely large blooms.
Yeah.
And some are common, like First Prize is a really large flower. But there's a few others that I'm going to be working with. The one just escaped my mind, but there's a red rose that just has a gigantic flower head.
And it's red?
And it's red and big leaves. But I like the idea of the big leaves.
Yeah.
Because like you said, some roses have really small leaves. But it'd be nice to see huge
We're going to take a break.
Almost like a camellia.
Yeah, even bigger.
Yeah, final break. One more segment coming up. Those on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. I want to thank those that are still hanging in there on Facebook Live as you hear the audio and see that beautiful still picture of John with the roses in front of him and a shot of Godzilla. So there you go, John. We're going to take a break back after these messages with our good friends on Biz Talk Radio. We are back, and this is our final segment. We are making our way through some of the muck this morning as we had some technical problems. We did get on the air on Facebook Live, but the video is acting up, so hopefully this audio is giving you good information.
Yeah, prior to the break, we were talking about rose characteristics that breeders try to develop, and our buddy Ping Lim has been working with shrub roses that have hybrid tea form. Shrub roses are usually grown for the amount of color that they have, so lots of blooms, usually a little more compact than a hybrid tea. But Ping has been trying to, and has come up with a whole bunch of roses, maybe a dozen, with that grow like shrubs, but each flower is got a perfect hybrid tea shape to it.
That's all he does, 365 a year, right?
Well, he breeds other plants too, but he spends that's his job. That's his profession.
Yeah, that's what
that's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's people like Bill Radler out of Milwaukee, who was breeding for roses resistant to black spot, which is a huge problem in the back east. We don't have that problem so much here in California, but he bred the knockout roses, and it probably made him the wealthiest breeder in the history of the world.
Right.
Probably even more so than David Austin.
Oh, yeah.
With his knockout roses.
Yeah, because there's just so many of them that are being sold worldwide.
Yeah.
David Austin has a large variety, and a lot of people are interested in it, but volume-wise, knockout's way more.
And then there was a breeder that passed away, Harvey Davidson. And Harvey's goal was to produce thornless roses. So he came up with about a dozen roses that were thornless, like Smooth Prince or Smooth Angel, things like that. And then he also came up with high gloss roses. So he wanted roses that were, the leaves were as shiny as holly.
Ooh.
And what he found out about that is usually the shinier a leaf was, the more resistant it was to mildew. But sadly, no one ever really
Jumped on board with
jumped
that
on
program.
board producing them.
Yeah.
And some of them. And I've had people ask me about it. So one of our, I know there's some up in San Jose at the Heritage Rose Garden. So this summer, one of my goals is going to be to try to get some of those again and bring them down. Because they were really nice roses. People always say they want thornless roses, but then nobody ever buys them.
Yeah, well, I don't know why, because there's really nothing that a thornless rose is really different. You know, just because it's thornless doesn't mean it flowers less.
Right.
Doesn't mean it, you know,
It's just
the
a defense
flower's
mechanism.
smaller.
It's a defense mechanism in the wild.
Yeah. So,
I don't know. One of his roses, Smooth Prince, was for years the highest rated rose by the American Rose Society.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so, yeah, I mean, I don't know why thorn. It's funny. Fruit trees, citrus. You know, a lot of those have always been thorned trees. You know, in the past, and now you don't ever find a thorn citrus because it's people didn't want it.
It's been bred out.
It's been bred out, and I think the only really citrus that kind of gets thorns is the Mexican lime still.
Finger limes too.
Do they get? Oh yeah. Oranges, they all used to have thorns on them,
Yeah.
and then that's been bred out. Lemons, I mean, not really but like Meyer lemons, Eureka lemons, those ones all are thornless now. Grapefruits are all thornless.
I think that was because of commercial growers.
That's what I'm saying. Like
they didn't want people to go picking all that
would
fruit.
you? Would you?
Right.
It's hard. It's hard enough to find people that want to go pick fruit
to begin with,
and now go put them in a briar patch to go pick the fruit.
Right. Bring in the new crew. The last one bled out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Hey, Kevin, up in
Idaho.
Idaho.
My high school buddy.
Yeah. He says that he's going to send photos of his garden.
All right.
In the spring. So Kevin seems like he's learning how to work the Idaho climate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He's a San Diego guy, so it looks like he's crossed that barrier for sure.
Well, my daughter's from San Diego too.
She's learning,
and she loves gardening up there in Idaho.
Yeah.
She likes the different things that she can grow too.
Well, I do say the one thing about seasoned gardening is it forces you to take a break, which I think it forces you to be more excited when you can garden. Right? Like, I mean, we could sit here all we want and talk about gardening, and today when we go home, like, if we don't want to do it, we get to it tomorrow.
Right. There's no sense of urgency.
No.
But there, if you're like, you know what,
you have
it's
a
been
window
cold,
of opportunity.
It's been rainy. I'm so excited for the sun to come out. I'm going to start some seeds.
You know, it's funny. As easy as it is to grow things here, we take it for granted, and then you're all proud of what you've done, and you could actually honestly say, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
The sun was out. You watered a little bit. There was no winter snow. What did you really do?
There's sometimes.
You
See,
can
that's
fail,
why you
of
want to
course.
grow your roses from seed.
Yes.
Because you can say, I did that.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, there's sometimes I don't go into parts of my yard for a month just because there's nothing to be done.
Right, and then you go back and go, whoa, what's this?
Exactly.
It's either a good surprise or a bad surprise. How did these get in here?
Yeah, right.
I have times where I don't go in my garden, parts of my garden, for maybe a day.
Yeah. With all this rain, this is probably the least amount you've spent in your yard in a long time.
The day before yesterday, I was in the house the whole day.
Yeah, that's probably weird for you.
It was really weird, but I was able to answer some emails.
Nice.
Well, that's going to do it.
All right.
Those on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live, thank you so much, especially Facebook Live, putting up with the problems. Tiger and I will resolve this week. You'll probably read up on some things going on with these updates, Tiger.
Updating to do
and
changes.
We'll come back this week and test everything.
Do we have a guest next week, or when are we doing our library show?
I thought we were going to maybe do that next week.
Are we? Oh, next week? Wait, what's next week with me?
14th. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay. Hey, for the entire crew, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox, our buddy, and our IT expert, Daniel, fighting COVID. Have yourself a great rest of the day, great rest of your weekend, and a safe week, and we'll do it again next week right here on Garden.